What if I told you your savings account is secretly costing you money? So, today we're going to talk about a strategy that can turn your idle cash into a money making machine. Now, one thing you've heard about from every rich person is that they have stocks. Now, that does seem to intimidate people, but there's something so easy, so powerful that you can do uh, to not just have money sitting around, but have your money working for you. Okay, I know that's what I just said. I'm kind of basically repeating myself, but it really is it's that simple. There is a reason banks want. Is this tinfoil hat, Mike? Let me know. There's a reason banks want you to have a savings account. And it's not because they just want cash sitting in a vault. They spend that money. They use that money to make money. So why just follow in that footsteps? Let me ask you this real quick. Why do you think that is so popular to have a savings account? Is it really just temple hat? We want you to have a savings account so you can pay a money manager to do it, or because it's just BS to not drink your favorite coffee every day because you're going to save $4 for the rest of your life, and that's going to equate to nothing. And this is without inflation. Um, but just broadly, what do you think about the whole just savings account idea? Knowing what you know now.
Well, with what I know now,
Mm-hmm.
I do. So I'll tell you, I have a savings account as my emergency account where it's just
Mm-hmm.
cash on hand. Anything beyond that, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense anymore. And I think in previous generations, it was just ingrained in people to save money. I'll take my parents for instance, who grew up with parents who came out of the Great Depression.
Mm-hmm.
So they, from that generation on, they were ingrained to save money in a savings account. With what I know now, you're losing money in a savings account.
Yeah, hand over fist.
Through inflation.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I think now people just don't know that they have an option available to make money on the money that they have. I think
Right.
it's just lack of knowledge at this point.
It truly is, I'm very big just on that in general. And we talk about a lot the language of money, just the big terms. They're not even big; they're just different, and people think that's another language. I'll never understand that. Way too complicated for me. When you were first starting out, does that not sound like everything I just said?
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
but then once you get it, you realize it's not. It's not even a totally different language. It's just a few extra words.
I mean, yeah, 100%. Like, and then let's even just the fact, well, not that the simple thing of investing, not even making money on your investments, just investing is a daunting task for someone who doesn't understand that language of money,
Mm,
because Wall Street makes it very confusing on purpose.
right.
They'll use different terminology for the same thing. It's like you have 5 different terms that all equal the same thing.
Yeah. Yeah. And honestly, it makes it hard even coming on, like for people to research coming onto YouTube, because it's funny that a lot of YouTubers say the same thing in different words.
Right.
But to someone just starting out, it sounds so confusing.
Yeah.
So let's just touch base on a. I'm gonna touch base on a couple. We're really gonna focus on one because you
Yeah.
said
Let's identify the problem, right? You're losing
yeah,
money in a savings account.
right, due to inflation, and I mean, like we can cherry pick. Inflation's supposed to be 2%, and if you believe the government, then that's all it has been, right? Maybe we shot up to 8. We'll just and by the government, I mean the reports that come out because they
Yeah.
don't actually have food and gas in there, which
Yeah.
is well, not the one they talk about. Like everyone's talking about the cost of McDonald's fast food is up what 30-50%, 60 and some. So your same savings account, if you're using that same money, whether it's in your savings or checking, that's just that cash that's just sitting there, cash that you work to get, whether you allocated it to spend or to save. And I want to touch base on what you said. It's ingrained. I think a lot of people have it, and there's some security there.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, I don't even know what a interest rate you can get these days on a savings account. I know it's not much. It's not over a couple percent.
Yeah, even brokerages have higher percentage returns than, and that's just cash just sitting there.
Yeah.
So at the bare minimum, open up a Robinhood account and just put your cash in there, and you'll make
Yeah.
more than any bank I know of.
Yeah. And So let's take the most conservative figure. If you were using government figures and it's 2%, at 2% inflation, and you're getting less than 2% in interest from your savings account, you're losing money regardless, right?
Yeah.
And that's at the most conservative rate. So I don't. There's just no point in it.
Yeah, yeah, and talking about a conservative rate, 2% is absolutely nonsense. And right now, the reason why I want to do this video right now is because I know people are feeling it. Like yeah, they come out and talk about inflation and how it's winding down. It's close to 2%. Everybody goes to the grocery store every week and they're like, no, it's not. Like it's for sure not
Yeah,
because
yeah,
this still costs way too much. Even I get mad. Like I don't like going to Costco, and it's like $1,200. Like, what happened? Like, this was supposed to be I buy in bulk because it's cheap.
right, right.
Okay, so you talked about investing, daunting task. There's
Yep.
something called the S&P 500. It's an ETF, SPY, SPY. You can literally buy that, and so this is super basics. And don't even overthink what I'm about to say, because even what I'm about to say destroys. If you do just this, destroys a savings account. You take your, well, let's call it a few $1,000, 3,000. You need to do what I'm talking about. You need at least 2,000. So Dave Ramsey, I think he talks about his rainy day fund is $1,000, flat tire, something like that. If it's just $1,000, yeah, I do think you need a savings account for that. But after 2,000, you unlock margin, and everybody gets scared about that. That just means money you can borrow against it. So I won't get into that's how the rich people do it, and that's why they don't pay taxes. We'll get into that in a later video. But if I have $2,000, I can put it in a Robinhood account. Super basic. Robinhood, it's hard to mess up a Robinhood account. Robinhood has a debit card, so I actually still have access to all my money. But when you have $2,000 on a margin account, not a cash account, margin, there's buying power available. Doesn't mean you have to use it at all. But if I put my $2,000 in there, my buying power I think is 6 or 8,000. Because they give you more money. Now, this is how people do get in trouble. This is where the horror stories come from, is because people will just go all out and they throw it in there. And they try to throw it on a gambling stock and they lose their money. But you take your $2,000, you buy the ticker SPY, which is the top 500 companies, and they rotate it. So they do the stuff for you, top 500. Now, your $2,000 in there is going to grow on average of 10% a year. Now, sometimes it's 20%, sometimes it's 5%, but over the decades, it averages out to 10% a year.
Right.
That's without touching it at all. Now, if you get that flat tire, remember I just told you you have $6,000 in buying power. So what you do, because the problem with investing is you don't have access to your money, or people don't know how to do it. So great, I took my whole savings account, I put it into SPY, but now I have a flat tire. I can't just wrap my rim in SPY shares. Like that doesn't work. You can take your debit card, you can borrow on that margin, fix your tire, and then pay that back. You're essentially just paying yourself back. So you still had access. You did not have to sell a single share to get it. So it's not a taxable event. It's actually a loan, which is how Bezos and Elon make 80 grand a year working at Tesla and Amazon, but they borrow against their shares. So that's what the rich people do. And knowing just that one thing, you can leave here and never come back. And that instantly blows away your savings account. Nonsense. Out of the water. Strive to get to that 2 grand mark to unlock the next thing, but keep that habit consistent. But we're going to go a tad bit further now, because we're going to talk about how to use your shares. I say this a lot in my streams, how to use your shares almost like a vacant house, and you're going to collect rent on that. Right. So the main video, the main thing we're going to talk about right now is what's often called the wheel strategy. Few ways to do it. There's some popular ways. There's some you can try to get aggressive with it, but I like to call it children's allowance. I would rather just collect a little bit less, not have to manage it. Right? Yeah, I do this on Fridays or Mondays, and then that's it. I click my thumbs. Magic money appears in my account. Do you have a better way to explain that? Because when I say it, it just sounds like, does that not just sound like too good to be true? Or, like what scheme doesn't sound like that? Like, this is going to be amazing. You're going to be rich and you have to do nothing.
Yeah, it's not quite magic. I call it my weekly premium check.
Okay. Weekly premium. Okay. Weekly premium check, not checklist, but it's in check.
It's my weekly premium check I get, and I collect money every week to, running this.
He's a boomer. He still lives on checks. You still We're talking about money in your account, right?
It goes direct. I don't get a check, but it is money that comes into my account just for owning shares.
And we're not talking about a dividend.
No,
Well, some do pay a dividend.
You can do this on a dividend stock, and it compounds your income.
I think your whole list of 5 tickers all pay a dividend.
Probably.
My new name is Dividend Don. Because Meta, Nvidia, the only one that doesn't pay a dividend. No, does Tesla pay a dividend? Did they announce that? I should know this. It's negligible, but
yeah,
I'm pretty sure Tesla announced that it's Dividend Don.
I don't know if they're paying a dividend. They might be. I can't remember either. Anyway, I don't want to get sidetracked on that.
Yeah. Okay.
So I don't know if we want to go into the full wheel strategy, but there's a way to earn income, which is called premium, by selling option contracts against shares that you currently own, or while trying to acquire new shares.
Yes.
So you can do it 2 ways.
Yeah. So let's just start with the basics. Let's say someone out there has a $5,000 savings account. Congrats, because you're probably one of the top 1%. Because it's crazy that people don't even have a savings account.
Right.
That's alarming in itself. But let's for the sake of this video, they have over $2,000 and they just convert it into an account. They open up a Robinhood. You got to get a broker account. I like Robinhood just because it has a debit card with it. E-Trade, same thing. E-Trade, though, I will say they have something weird. You can't do what we're about to do unless you have $6,000 in the account. So anybody that has restrictions, that's silly. In a day of technology like this, your broker does not care about you at all, and you should not care about them. You should have zero emotional ties. So if you go open a Robinhood account, I like it again. Has the debit card because I still want access. If I want to spend something, like if I want to spend that money, I want to have access to it. So I do like that feature. So popular one that YouTubers push a lot because the affiliate is Webull, but there's no debit card there.
Right.
Still, you can grow it all, but you have to transfer the money to your bank. But if you just put the cash in there, we're talking about getting paid to buy the stocks, whether the transaction actually happens or not. So, for instance, what we're going to talk about is selling a put. I want to buy Palantir. Palantir right now is sitting at $28 flat, right on the dot too. So if I wanted to buy Palantir, but I want to buy it at $27, I would sell a put. Someone's going to pay me. And now if Palantir, the stock, PLTR, drops below $27, I will own it at $27 a share. But if it stays at 27.01 or higher, I got to keep that money. Now I don't have any shares, but I got what I call the free internet money. You got your weekly premium. Nothing happened other than we tied up. Now you have to have enough to buy 100 shares. That's the only important thing here is each contract we're talking about is for 100 shares. So I don't want to give away too much information because we have other wheel. There's going to be a lot of wheel strategy videos coming out to really clear this all up. So I just feel like there's a new person out here. The eyes are already getting glazed over. It is easy. It really is as easy as what I'm saying right now.
Yeah.
You tie up the capital to buy 100 shares. So $27 times 100, $2,700. Again, someone will pay me. That's just the magic part. But I have to be willing to buy 100 shares of that stock. Okay. Come Friday's expiration, it doesn't happen. We try again next week. Essentially, what I'm doing is I become the slot machine, let the gambler come up to me. But on average, I like to go about 1% a week. And people think that doesn't sound like, if you ever talk to anybody that's trading or they want to jump into the markets, they think 1% is silly. What do you think about 1%?
I think it's great. That's the number that I try to shoot for. And, I've been making it every week. We do make it easy because we do compare a lot of stocks for our group. But yeah, 1% is actually a very achievable, and I do it every week.
In fact, let me Now I'll show because we're working on a website for the group right now. We manually grab all this data and
Yeah,
so
we
let me just
we mainly track everything in a spreadsheet right now. We are building a website,
mhm.
but they're functionally going to be doing the same thing.
We're gonna have some AI bots on that website too. I know
We
that's
will.
the cool thing, but these bots are gonna be inside my head, or like I'm the one. How do you say that? Do I train the robots? How
You're
do
going to be training
we?
the robots.
Okay, so it won't just be like, look at me, I made this Chat GPT bot that people are using off the internet. So it will actually be trained by me. So it should be my way of thinking, and it's been fun going back and forth with Mike on that one, just on how would you go about this. uh, okay, so expert this week's top five puts. That's just for this week as of recording this. So right now you're going to get 0.5%. We're like I said, I do these on Monday. So if you do it now, it's a little bit less. Annualized, that's 28%. That's if we're just kicking this thing off right now. Now, if we want to go for next week, because you're going to give it the whole week, here's over 1% annualized return 58%. So just in easy terms, if you guys want to imagine this, 100 grand in your account, that's 58 grand a year, a little over 58.5.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, if we go with the cheapest one, it's Microsoft, or not cheapest, but the lowest paying one, right? Less than 0.5%. That's still 16%. Everyone talks about the S&P pays on average at 10%. Now, that's just you doing absolutely nothing. This is, you got to do this one thing a week. And it literally is like I open up my broker, I type on the ticker, click view options. This is the hand motion too. Click sell, review, swipe up, done.
I
I
like the
really can't.
animation.
I just can't stress how easy that is.
Yeah.
It's easy once you know it. If right now it feels like you're taking a drink out of a fire hose, I get it. But we're gonna have plenty of videos to really make all of this very clear. But let's say you're someone you heard about risk. Right now, I think everyone's investment knowledge is about as deep as when if you have a job, they come in for your 401k and they say, "Do you want to do intermediate, risky, or conservative?" Like that's everyone's investment knowledge, and they always usually pick the medium. They're like, "I don't want to go high, but I don't want to go low, so I'll pick the medium." Like that doesn't even need to be a presentation anymore. Who doesn't pick medium?
Right.
Uh, anyway, we can go conservative. Now, this is for next week, but a conservative. You'll notice none of these are 1%. This is very, again, conservative. The thing is, and when it comes to investing, imagine a scale. You will not tilt one without the other. So if you want to collect more, you're going to risk more. Collect less, you're going to risk less. Now, going just this much below 1% actually changes it quite a bit. Um, so that's stuff we do go over. Now, if you've found the Patreon link, it will be the top pin description. So tier one is just my place, and we're doing this. That's an account I started from zero. But tier two, Mike actually goes through and talks about these as his morning live streams. That's what you get. Tier three is everything. It's this. It's trading. It's everything I do. But even just that, just the tier two goes over this, and you walk them through it in your morning streams
I do.
every day. Touch
I,
just a little bit on that.
yeah. So I have a morning stream every Monday, Wednesday, Friday
Mhm.
from 8 to 8:30. And a lot of the people who have joined because they want to learn more about this strategy specifically. And so we
Mhm.
cover all the questions. We go over we go over the strategy from A to Z, and
Mhm.
we make sure everyone's comfortable before they start taking any trades.
Right.
So we talk about the risks. We talk about how to do it. We'll even talk about platforms that they can do it on. Like it's pretty comprehensive.
And you know what spurred on this video is someone was talking about getting into my group. Now he signed up for the group and everything, but I'm talking to him about just this strategy. Let's just start out with this. Let's
Mm-hmm.
get some money flowing. Let's at least get some money going in the account tonight because he actually has owned Tesla shares for the last 4 years and he's just now up. So he's made nothing. So opportunity cost is absolutely, well, it's better than a savings account because he didn't lose, but That's it. And I showed him, just 4 years of owning that, it would have been something like 48,000 or 50,000, something like that, of just taking the conservative route.
Hmm.
Is what he would have made just doing nothing. Just doing what we're talking about. Very basic. I mean, we're talking inside of 30 seconds, what you know what you're talking about.
Right.
Uh, and he's like, that's cool. I want to get to trading. And like, and even just then, which is fine because I'm a trader, but I do this on my investment account. But even just then, I was thinking, like, you have no idea what I just explained to you and how powerful that actually is. Because
Yeah.
for retirement, I mean, this is anything. Retirement, another income. This is something so simple. You should be doing this while you're at work because you're trying to. You will now. You actually have a date at which you will replace your income. Um, and even I've had some pushback about that because one of my biggest things I regret doing was as soon as I doubled my income, I quit. I was like, I'm out. I'm going to be a cool trader. And what I essentially just did was double my income and then cut it in half again. Like, do this while you're at work. And what's the word? Are you afraid you're going to make too much? You just double your income. You let it grow and let it go. There was an analogy, guys. I don't have a better one, but I said it before the stream. We were talking about this. Uh, Now, the snowball is the best example for this because
Right.
you're probably thinking, I only have a couple grand. That's $20 a week. Fine. That does not sound like much, and I get it. But if you found 20, it would take you longer to bend over and pick up a $20 bill than it would to sell an options contract on Robinhood. It actually would. And you guys can time me on this. I will beat you. In the you take two steps, bend down, pick up a $20 bill, and realize it's a $20 bill. I would already have that made just by selling an options contract.
Hmm.
Um, but there are steps and you grow that. Eventually you'll unlock you're making $100 a week and then it goes to 500 and then 1,000. But once you start making the hundreds a week, it starts to really ramp up. The 20s, oh, that's slow. It's brutal. It really is. Um, in fact, if you're just above $1,000, you're going to make 13, sometimes $20 a week. That was with Ford stock, sometimes seven. It's brutal because when I started the account at zero, you're like this is mind numbing.
Yeah, I have one recommendation for all the our peeps is if their account is under 10,000,
Mhm.
they should be adding something every week or from their paycheck. It doesn't have to be a lot, $10, $5, $20, whatever they can afford
Mhm.
to help get to that 10,000 mark. Because once you get rid of that 10,000 mark, that's $100 a week,
Yeah,
and that's when you start seeing it, and then you can stop adding and just let the premium roll. I mean, you don't have to stop. You can keep adding if you want.
yeah. See, I suggest don't stop because just think of the habit you just instilled by now. The example I use is imagine your paycheck because some people live paycheck to paycheck. I can't afford to do that.
Mhm.
Imagine your paycheck was just $20 less. Okay, nothing changes in your life. You're
Right.
not that paycheck to paycheck,
Yeah.
and you can't afford not to do this.
Right.
Like that's really what's going on. So take that $20 a paycheck, put it into this account. Just get that habit. I call it the drip. Just get some kind of just constant little something in the account because then you're going to grow it from both ends.
Hmm.
And it really does take off.
Yeah.
But the reason why a snowball is just so perfect because it really does just start off with a snowflake, and that might be you with your couple few $100s, and then it grows into a snowball, but then it turns into an absolute avalanche. So this is something I live on because the markets there's while the markets have good and bad times to be as a trader, there's times you want to be long, times you want to be short. The wheel strategy like this is what we're talking about. Sometimes it pays over 1%, sometimes it doesn't. That's the fluctuations it has. There are ways to get a little bit more aggressive. You don't really want to play with that. That's now you're introducing management. There's a lot of other things, and I steer very clear of that. I'm very like off the radar. But like I had told Mike, I wish I had a better analogy. But just imagine you could live off of one cup of snow, a physical cup. You're going to go get that, and that's what you're going to eat or drink. That's your survival. Imagine taking that one cup out of a snowball versus one cup out of an avalanche. Like it
Hmm.
just one won't make a difference. One will be your whole account.
Right.
So if just let it grow, and it gets insane. This is supposed to, I thought about almost making this video as a short, but there's just a lot to take in. People just need to understand this. I'm going to make 100 more videos. So if it sounds like I'm repeating myself, good. At least you're paying attention.
Right.
Because we need to make it that clear. So, key advantages. Uh, One, you stop being poor. I can promise you now, if you can't save your way to being rich, you will be poor the rest of your life if your only focus is a savings account. And I don't mean to be dramatic or anything like that, but the fastest way to stay poor, but keep complaining on Facebook. I'm sure that really helps your savings account. It's awesome. Get emotional and tell the world about how you feel. Cool story. But if you actually want to make a difference and get somewhere, you need to be. Every rich person you've ever met has stocks and real estate. I'll put it that way. So you can either join that crowd or just complain from the sidelines. Like I don't know how else to put it. Is that what's like the human way to say that, Mike? What's the
I think I think one of our missions is to teach people how to make money safe with less risk.
Yes.
To help people from not being consistently poor. How about that?
Yeah. I guarantee you, as you're watching this, if you're not from a third world country, I've had less money than you. Probably had more money than you. I've been in all three of the classes from lower class, middle class, upper class. What drives my passion is how insane it is for you to go. You can go backwards. You can go from upper class to dead broke. I mean, faster than you can blink. But man, it is a grind. And if you don't get started on the way up, you're never going to get out. And so it drives me crazy that once I found all this out and learned that everything literally changed
Mm-hmm.
from sleeping in a car to my cars cost more than a house. Like it's ridiculous. The slow route, it never makes more sense as slow as smooth and smooth as fast. If you want to jack around with your account and go gamble, you probably won't be here next year as far as stocks go. The chances of you picking the right one, the statistics are out there. They're not good. You're not going to make it. And I can almost confidently say that. Your fears of this and the stories you've heard are from people that have no idea what they're talking about. But they went out and they just winged it. They tried it and didn't pan out. They weren't doing this, I promise.
So,
Right.
so in conclusion, what are you saying?
Follow me. Understand this. If you only follow this series, fine. You can subscribe, get the notifications, get this series down, and peace out. But I promise you probably won't. Like you'll get this series and stick around because it is that powerful. It's an absolute need. One of the biggest frauds and letdowns of this country is having these tools out there and nobody knows how to use them.
Yeah,
That's easily it. So the only call to action, check it all out. If you want to just dive right in right now, I have this. I don't know what to do. Check that pin link out. It'll be the top pin link in the comment section below this video. But if you're on the fence, hit the subscribe button. That part's free. And the only thing it's going to cost you is your time. Watch the next few videos because we're going to talk about this, go a little bit in depth. It's hard not to give you all at once. That makes sense. But we're going to break it down and make it easy. This is about as easy as I can get as far as an overview goes.
Yeah.
But we'll wrap up here. We'll see you guys in the next one. Mike, yeah, one last thing. You're like the easier talker. Or you're stupid.
No, if you want to make money instead of losing money in the savings account, even if you don't join us, learn the wheel strategy. It'll change everything.
Yes. All right. We'll wrap it up here. We'll see you guys in the next one. Have a good one.
See ya.